Again, everybody, let's take a look at the concepts of literal equations here in this section. All right, literal equations. This section is nothing more than a review of algebraic techniques on how to isolate a variable. But first of all, a literal equation is simply an equation with more than one variable. So let me say that. Let me say a literal equation is an equation with more than one variable. More than one variable. Alright? So it's nothing more than that. So we've seen many literal equations in the past. For example, let's take a look at an equation which we've seen in the past here. Let's take a look at something like P is equal to 2L plus 2W. Okay, so you may notice that as the perimeter of a rectangle, which is twice the length plus twice the width. So there are three variables in this equation, P, L, and W. Now the objective in this section on literal equations is to, given some equation like this, can we isolate one of the variables in terms of the other? In other words, let's say we're asked to solve for W in this equation. Let's go and solve this equation for W. So let's get W in terms of P and L. Right? So how do we do that? Well, just standard algebra. So W on one side, everything else on the other side. So for example here, P is equal to 2L plus 2W. Let's copy the equation again. We're going to subtract out the 2L since it does not have W at all in it, this term. So let's bring it to the other side, bring it to the left side. So therefore we get P minus 2L is equal to 2W. Obviously then we can divide both sides by 2 to finish this off. So we're going to get W, or the width of the rectangle can be expressed as the perimeter minus twice the length, P minus 2L, all divided by 2. Now do not cancel these 2's out because the P is also being divided by 2. Right? So this is our final solution. That width is equal to, or W is equal to P minus 2L over 2. Alright? Let's go ahead and try another one here. So again, this is nothing more than standard algebra, basically. Right? Given some equation, can we isolate a particular variable in that equation in terms of the other variables? Alright? So let's go ahead and try another one. Let me go and clear out the screen. Let's go and try another one. Alright? Let's consider this equation here. Alright, let's try this one. Let's look at V is equal to let's say let's look at A plus L over 4. Alright? So given this literal equation here, I want you to solve for, let's solve for A, capital A. Alright? How can I do that? Well, this is B over 1 essentially, right? But I want to get rid of this 4 in the denominator. Anytime you have fractions, let's multiply both sides by the LCD to get rid of the fractions. In other words, 4 is the LCD here. Can we see that? The LCD is equal to 4. Hopefully we can see that. So let's multiply both sides by 4 to get rid of this 4 at the bottom. So 4 times B on the left side equal to 4 times A plus L over 4 on the right side. Alright? 4 times B is just 4B. So no big deal there. Alright? 4's drop off here on the right. Can we see that? Equal to A plus L. Alright? Now, how do I get A by itself? I'm going to keep in mind we're solving for A, right? How do I get this A by itself? Well, just simply subtract L on both sides. So again, hopefully we see this as not too challenging a problem here. So A is equal to what? 4B minus L. So I have A completely isolated in terms of B and L. But here, if I say solve for L, make sure we can do that as well. Alright? In terms of A and B in that case. Alright? So again, make sure we can make the adjustments on the homework as well as on the quizzes and exams. All right, let's try another one here. let me squeeze one more in here if you don't mind. Let's look at this one here. Let's look at S. Let's look at S is equal to, that's an S there. S equal to A plus N minus 1 times D. All right, S equal to A plus quantity N minus 1 times D. I want you to solve for N in this case, alright? Let's go and solve for an N. Alright? So let's go do that. Let me just recopy this equation. So S is equal to A plus n minus 1 times D. All right. So let's go ahead and get this quantity by itself. Let's get rid of this A. This A does not have n at all. Let's subtract A on both sides. I want to get n by itself. Keep that in mind. So S minus A is equal to what? N minus 1 times D. All right. Can we see that? Now, at this point, let me go ahead and distribute the D. Let me multiply out the D. All right. So D times n will be what? Will be, so S minus A is equal to dn, D times negative 1, negative D. Can we see that? Now, you may think, well, look, couldn't I divide out the D instead of distributing it? Yes, you can. I'll do a couple of ways for you in a second here, all right? So, but let me go this route here. Let me distribute the D, all right? So if I add D to both sides here, because I'm going to get n by itself, right? This term does not have n at all. Get rid of it by adding it to both sides. All right? So I get S minus A plus D is equal to dn. All right? So let's go divide both sides by what? To get rid of the D. Divide it out, right? I want to get n by itself, solve for n, right? So divide everything by what? By D. So that takes care of D. So we have our solution. So n is going to be what? S minus A plus D all over what? All over D. All right? Now you may wonder, well, can I cancel these D's out? Again, no, you cannot. You cannot cancel them because we have subtraction and addition here. This is all lumped together as one quantity. All right? If I have S times A times D, if I have the top in factored form, then I could cancel the D's out. In this case, I cannot cancel out the D's. Be careful here. All right? Now, I mentioned over here at this step, you could have divided both sides by D. Let me pick it up from this step here. So first of all, let me just circle the answer here for this problem here. All right? Okay. So, but let me again, this is the solution for n here and for this equation here. All right. So again, don't confuse the this example. I know I put two examples, which is one too many here on this whiteboard. So I apologize for that. Let me separate them. Okay. So. Let me separate like this. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, now let me do it again. Let me continue at this step here. Let me copy this. All right. So let me squeeze that in here. Sorry about that. S minus A equal to n minus 1 times D. All right. At this dimension, we could have divided both sides by D. So let's do that. Divide both sides by D. D's drop off. Right. Can we see that? So S minus A over D is equal to n minus 1. All right. How do I get n by itself? Add 1 to both sides. All right, so therefore n is equal to what? S minus A over D plus 1. All right, can we see that? And that's the answer for n. All right. Now you may say, well, wait a minute here. This answer right here is not the same as this answer, is it? They look different, but actually they are the same. Here, let me show you why they're the same. Let me add, so these are two different fractions. Think of this as 1 over 1, right? Let me add these two together. What's the common denominator? Isn't it D? Yeah. If I multiply this by D over D, pretend I'm adding these two fractions together, right? Okay? So therefore I'm going to get what I'm going to get. I'm running out of space here, so I apologize. But I'm going to S minus A plus D, right? Plus 1 times D. And look, the common denominator here is what? D all over D. Okay? So sorry to put it so low to the edge here, but you can see that if this answer I got here, which I got by dividing by D at this step right here instead of distributing it like I did over here, all right, then it's the same answer as this answer I got here originally, all right, because if I add these two fractions together, S minus A over D plus 1, and the common denominator is going to be D, then I'm going to get the same answer here. So therefore, these answers are the same. So on the exam, either answer is fine. All right, but let's say if I'm giving you a multiple choice exam, then obviously I'm not going to give you both of these as choices because they're both correct. But make sure if you do it this way, make sure you recognize. Let's say I give you this as a choice on the multiple choice exam. Then what you want to do is at this step you want to recognize that this answer is the same as this answer. And how do you recognize that? Just combine the two fractions together like I did over here. Okay. So again, n is equal to S minus A over D plus 1 is also a correct answer. Okay, let me write that again up here since I ran out of space, all right? So we're saying n is equal to S minus A over D plus 1. This answer is also correct. S minus A over D plus 1 is also correct as this answer is also. Okay, so again, but recognize that these two answers is exactly the same in fact. Okay, make sure we see that. Okay, so somewhat challenging problem. Okay, so but make sure we see all the algebraic steps involved. Okay, let's try another one. Let me clear out the screen. All right, let's look at this one here. S equal to C plus RC. All right. Well, we've seen this equation before, haven't we? Right. This is the what? Marked-up equation, right? Selling price is equal to what? Cost plus markup rate times cost. Can we see that, right? This is chapter 4 material, right? So we've seen this markup equation before, but this time, though, I want you to solve this equation for, let's solve this equation for what? For C, all right, this time. All right? Solve this equation for C. So this is a little challenging here now. Okay, so suppose you say, okay, well, let's see here. So if I subtract C from both sides, okay, here, let me show you this real fast. Subtract C from both sides, all right? So I get S minus C is equal to RC. Then I'm going to divide both sides by what? By R to get C by itself, and so on for C, right? R's drop off, so C is equal to what? S minus C over R. Are we done? No, we're not. Can we see that, right? Yes, I have C isolated, but look, my answer cannot be in terms of C, right? Because I'm trying to solve for C. Can we see that? So my final answer should be in terms of what? S and R only. I still have a C here, so this is not correct. So this logic here is not correct. Can we see that? Here's what we have to do. Here's the correct way to solve this equation for C. Let me copy the problem again, all right? Notice that both these terms have C in them. So couldn't I factor out a C? So here's a new technique we haven't talked about, right? Factoring. I can take out a C here, couldn't I? Because both terms have C in common. So C times what is itself? Times 1. Plus C times what is RC? Times R. Can we see that? Now we have something that looks familiar, and I can finish solving for C by dividing by what? 1 plus R up to both sides. Are you with me on that? So final answer is C equal to what? S over 1 plus R. In other words, the cost is what? The selling price divided by 1 plus the markup rate. Okay, so again, make sure we are familiar with this factoring technique here involved in involved in isolating the variable what? The variable C here. Okay, so again, get some more practice on these types of equations here. Let me give you some equations to isolate then on the homework. Excuse me, for Blackboard here. Let me go and clear out the screen here. All right, let's go and try some of this. Okay, so I want you to here's the equation for you. I want you to solve this equation for what? For H. All right, so here's the equation: A equal to 1/2 BH. Well, we've seen that before. That's the area of a what? Of a triangle, right? Half the base times the height. I want you to solve for the height. Get H by itself in terms of A and B. Okay, so perform the algebra and post the answers in the discussion area on Blackboard. Let's try another one. All right, let's look at this one here. Let's look at 7x minus 5y is equal to. Let's make it equal to equal to 12. All right. Well, we've done this a little bit before, right? But here I want you to solve for. I want you to solve for not for y, but for x. Okay, get x by itself in this equation, all right? So get x in terms of y, okay? Not too bad. All right, let's do one more here, if you don't mind here. Let's go ahead and look at this one here. Let's look at t is equal to f times m minus g times m. And I want you to solve this equation for m. Oops, sorry about that. My sketch pad is acting up again, acting funny on me here, so let me fix that. All right, solve this for m. Okay, I apologize for that. So t is equal to what? Fm minus gm. Solve for m. Get the variable m by itself in terms of t, f, and g. So see if you can come up with the solutions and post them in the discussion area in Blackboard. Okay, so until next time.